Hey everybody, I'm going to try one last time to do this video reaction on the movie Us. I've tried many times over the past few weeks. This is probably my 20th time trying to do this. It's just too much information. And I'm doing these things unscripted, just talking from my heart. But in the movie Us, there is a lot of tremendous metaphor, and Jordan Peele does it on purpose. If you've seen the movie Get Out, you can pause at various times of the movie. There are very clear reasons why things are in the scene and whatnot. He really takes the time to do this. He does the same thing in the movie Us, but times 100. But the last 20 minutes of the movie reminded me of Plato's allegory of the cave. I have no idea if this was Jordan Peele's intention. I don't know if anybody else has talked about this, but if you're unfamiliar with the allegory of the cave, just give me a moment. I'll get back to it. I also just listened to Sam Harris's latest lessons. If you're unfamiliar with Sam Harris, check out his podcasts. Also check out his Waking Up app, which I subscribe to. His podcast, I donate to his podcast every month, as well as have his app. But within the app, it's really a meditation app. So I start off every morning, 10 minutes of his daily meditation, and then I do the remaining 20 minutes of what I would normally do. But the lessons that he has in this app are profound. They're absolutely amazing, well worth getting the app. But the latest one is called A Moral Illusion. And that's really what provoked me to finally say, I got to do this video on the movie Us. Because in this lesson, he tells a story. It's not his story. It's a story of a female author. I can't remember her name right now. But within the story, there are many interesting things that come into play. And at the end of the story, really the point is that you're looking at this cognitive dissonance of yourself and the world around you. And it really brings it to the forefront. And the movie Us does this as well. Meaning that there's so much suffering within the world, but within ourselves, and we sort of have to tell ourselves a story that it's not happening. I brought this up in my book, Chasing 22. It's the first prisoner I talk about, is how much suffering there actually is in the world. Now remember, the movie Us is US, as in United States, as in all of us. Jordan Peele is pointing a finger right at our faces and saying, check this out, listen up, because this is what's going on. And this cognitive dissonance aspect of this movie, and I'm just talking about this aspect, I can go into many other things, but it's relevant for me, you, and in my business of health and fitness and this channel, this message becomes really important because what are these dark sides? What are these demons, right, that sort of come after us? What are they? They're some form of addiction, and many of us are addicted to food or alcohol or whatever. We all have our own addictions, things that are tremendously out of measure. And when I wrote my book, Chasing 22, it's a book about free will, it's a book about behavior, it's a book about how and why we do things. And if those of you who have read the book will certainly grant me the fact that there are many, many aspects of biology that you're not thinking very much about. And so much of behavior is not your calculated move. You think it's a calculated behavior, but it's actually just all happening. It's just happening. And you're sort of the backseat witness of what you're experiencing in your life. Now, that may seem crazy to you. That may seem like, what do you mean I'm not authoring my own actions? Well, again, this is a larger story here, but I promise you, you're not thinking your thoughts before you think them. You're not, as I'm talking here, I'm not sitting here authoring this conversation. The words are just coming out of my mouth. They're seeming to be coming out of nowhere. I'm not scripting them, right? And so much of your behavior is exactly that way. It's just happening. Just like when you find yourself in front of the pantry and you're just eating food when you're not actually hungry, did you script that? Who's doing that behavior? Because you already likely need to lose 30, 40, maybe 50 pounds, and yet your behavior is indicative of somebody who is just an addict. And so much of this movie, Us, really just has to do with this darker side of ourselves that has sabotaged a life. And there's this other part of us that's trying to get it back. And the deeper part of this conversation of the movie Us is just lost, because who you perceive as the good person and the bad person and who wins, you should think more carefully about at the end of the movie. What just happened here? Who led the rebellion? Who's the good person? Who's the bad person? Who won, so to speak? And what's really happening here? When you go back to the allegory of the cave, long story short, you have an individual who was led out of bondage, shown the world as it really is, comes back down into a world, a shadow world, where they're chained to a wall. And the people who are chained to the wall are all playing sort of these shadow games. This person who now sees the world as it actually is, with, trees and flowers and sun and a river and a lake and mountains and the smell of the grass, he goes back down into this cave. He's no longer interested in playing these shadow games that people are playing. And when people ask him, why are you not playing these games with us? What is wrong with you? He begins to tell them about the other world, and people don't believe him. They call him a crazy man. But I would tell you, think about your own experience. Every time you've lost that 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, who are the first people to sabotage you? Who are the first people to knock you down? And the reason why your friends and your family do that is because it puts a funhouse mirror in front of each of them and says, hey, if this person's changing, then change is possible. This is one of the closest people to me in my life, and they're changing, and they're doing something different. I'm not going to lie, I've had my own battles, as many of you know, with many things. Part of being a human being, you have to fight these battles that are put in front of you. And some battles are easier than others. But you have to have a plan. You have to have a routine. You have to have accountability, and you have to have the right support around you. You have to show up. You have to stop telling yourself the bullshit story and have somebody that cares enough about you to tell you the truth. And the only thing I want you to grant me, whether you're still hanging out with me at Fit for Life, whether we're still talking on the phone or not, is that I've always been a truth teller. I've never held back. I've always told you how it is. And I know many of you have replied in kind when I needed it most, telling me to my face, hey man, this is what's up. And I can take it as well as I give it. So for each of us, and I say us, I mean you, me, and the United States and the rest of the world, we have to stop telling ourselves the bullshit story and start looking at things how they really are, and then ask ourselves, what are our routines? What are our behaviors? Who's authoring those things? And how do we put ourselves in an environment that gives us the best opportunity for success? Well, it starts off with showing up. It starts off with putting your foot through the door and doing some of the things that we've talked about in seminars. If it's in your house, get rid of it. Make sure you set up the routines that we've talked about in seminars. All these things, guys, are what help springboard yourself into better physical and mental health. All right, everybody, have a great day. I hope you check out the movie. And if you ever want to do a discussion at the gym on that movie, on very particular scenes and what's going on, and especially the end of the movie, let me know and we could hook that up. All right, everybody, have a good day.